when it comes to patient care as well.
Well, speaking of the Republican Party, Representative Brian Bilbray recently took a trip to Washington, D.C. to discuss a variety of topics, as he usually does. He's with us this morning to fill us in on a couple of things. Good morning to you.
Good morning. Great to be home.
So this whole health care issue, President Obama really putting the blitz on, the media blitz this weekend. What's your take on the latest of this?
Well, my take is that we really haven't seen his proposal. As he said in his speech, the details need to be presented, whatever. So he hasn't got that. But I think that one of the things that's really happened here was Washington's learning, don't try to jam things through. Don't tell people, trust us, because look at what we've done with all these other issues that we've crammed through. So I think there's a degree of slow down, stop, and now let's talk about what where we can find consensus. Right. And I think the senator is, who's just presented, the chairman over in the Senate presented his new bill, and now he's being attacked from both sides, which basically says it's something we ought to be looking at. If both sides hate it, it's probably got a lot of merit.
It's probably good. You say there's one thing in the bills that's actually started here from some of the discussions, and that's the talk of using co-ops.
I'm real excited about that because it was our town hall meetings, and actually it was a message I was able to take back that, look, one of the great successes in the financial services that didn't get in real problems was the credit unions. Why not use the credit union option and give the consumer a choice between big business and big government? And why, with the government proposal, you only give one new choice? With co-ops, with the credit union model, you could give hundreds.
Yeah.
But we just got to change the government regulations to allow people to pool their resources and that could create that portability, that variance that keep everybody honest.
And that sweeping change could happen quickly, probably.
Well, it could. I think it can happen quickly because I think it's one thing that Republicans and Democrats be hard-pressed not to vote for. And I think that is one thing the public needs to push on. Guys, find the issues you can agree on, move those forward, prove to us that you're willing to do the tough things like fight waste, fraud, and abuse, reduce the cost. That's something that both sides should be able to do. And once you've done that, you've proven that you can be trusted doing the tough part, then we'll talk about other mandates and expanding. We can talk about that. But first, why don't you do the things you should have done 20 years ago?
Now, you're an expert on border issues, and I asked you before we went on, are there new things with the border that you want to talk about? And you basically said, the health care and the border issue has a interesting connection.
It's astonishing. As chairman of the Immigration Reform Caucus, I've had a lot of people say, well, why aren't you raising this issue? I said, this issue raises on itself. The president never thought that the immigration issue was going to get into his health care proposal. But the fact is, we all know that if you do not require verification that you're legally in the country, illegal is going to slip through it. And this wink and this nod of Washington's what got people really kind of fed up and upset. And it ended up with this outburst that came out. But from now on, I think everybody's on notice that when you provide a benefit, when you talk about registering votes, we're going to now start saying minimum, you've got to check that people are legally present.
When you say registering votes, are you sort of referencing ACORN and the whole issue with that and what's going to be happening now, the investigation?
ACORN's got major problems, not just with what we've seen with these videos. I mean, when Las Vegas indicts the head of ACORN over voter registration fraud, we got about 20 states that are really into the voter registration issue. And I think the biggest issue is that people weren't watching this. And the nonprofits are a whole new thing we've got to look at. And it's not just from ACORN. We're talking about a lot of nonprofits that went to Afghanistan that the Bush administration supported that basically has a lot of corruption there that in the Government Oversight Committee I'm vested to get into. So we've got to go after the nonprofits and keep them honest. Just because they're nonprofits don't mean they can't be ripping off.
Some are wonderful. Let's just say that.
Absolutely.
Definitely
I've worked for nonprofits. I work with them all the time, but they need to be held to the same standard as everybody else.
Now, one of the reasons you popped in here on a Saturday for us is to talk about this algae-derived fuel credit. Explain.
This is a great breakthrough that came from here in San Diego. The Scripps Institute of Oceanography was looking at modified blue-green algae to produce gasoline, to produce diesel, and Jetco. We flew our first jet just last month. But right now, Washington gives ethanol, which is an environmental nightmare fuel, it's substandard, gives that a huge subsidy, but doesn't give algae fuel, which is a great environmental option, the same equity. And so all I'm saying is treat them the same based on the energy they produce.
Right. Isn't algae pretty new, though? I mean, ethanol's been around a while, so maybe that's why there was more money in that. They had more of a lobby. But now, isn't Algae. I get into algae.
You're right.
have an allergy
Yeah,
to
it's pretty new.
We don't have 200 years of bootlegging algae around. Ethanol is bootleg. And so, yes.
Yeah.
But the biggest problem is the lobbyists in Washington, and I believe science should drive our policies, not a bunch of backroom deals. And so what I'm saying is, if you offer it to alcohol made with corn that people could be eating, why in the world would you not do the same thing for a fuel that's truly environmentally friendly and doesn't cause food shortages?
Right, exactly.
We know about it well here in California because of script. Do they know about it in Washington? Is it really catching
That
on?
is one of the things I've really gone to. And, you know, as a former member of the Air Resources Board here and the Air District here in San Diego, I feel a responsibility of really pushing this issue. And so we've moved it forward. Now, granted, the ethanol lobbyists all are against me. I mean, they basically attack me hard for this. But somebody's got to stand up and say, look, ethanol does not pencil out from an environmental point of view. Algae does. Just give them equity in the market, and then let's see who can win. Because believe me, the algae issue is so much better. And you know, when you can fly a jet off this stuff, ethanol is going to be left in the way.
You were up there in the skies, and now we got to let you go and get out there to the beach. It's a gorgeous day out there. Brian Bilbray, thanks for stopping in,
And the swell's up,
Congressman.
so
Appreciate it.
those two don't go together very often.
Congressman, thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Always.